I'm going to be doing a mini card review for all the new cards that came out with the, you know, telling of the new Hearthstone expansion, Showdown in the Badlands. I'm not even going to rate them out of 5 stars. I'm just going to rate, do I think they will be at all playable and wild? Starting with Reap What You Sow. Deal 3 damage, Excavated Treasure. Of course, we know what Excavate does, but we don't know all the rest of the cards and all the payoffs. Of course, we can see here Azurite Rat as a payoff card, Battlecry, resurrect your highest cost minion, give it +2/+2, Reborn and Lifesteal. Not too sure what that's about yet. Seems like that's going to be something they haven't revealed yet, and it's being weirdly teased. However, I do think a card like this is just too slow for Wild. It's 3 mana, deal 3, and it doesn't have an immediate effect. I do not think this card would be playable in Wild. Harrowing Ox. This card's 7 mana. We don't even know what extra Excavate cards they're going to be. I just can't see a card like this being playable in Wild at all. Yeah, Death Knight is already doing pretty poorly outside of even, and a 7 mana card is definitely not going to make that better. Now, this is something I'm very interested in. Messenger Buzzard. Death Rattle, draw a beast, give minions in your hand +1/+1. I think this card is a definitive playable. It slots into so many hunter decks. It is a tutor of a tutor. It can be tutored. It's crazy. And it hand buffs your hand. I think this card goes in a swath of different hunter decks, from even to beast to Reno. I do think there's a world where this card definitely sees play. Felder and the Lost, of all the cards revealed so far, this is the best card. Not just because it's a very strong card for a Reno Hunter deck, but look at this effect. If your deck has no duplicates, gain immune this turn and attack all enemies. Effectively, what this card is Prison Breaker that only has a duplicate as its condition rather than play 5 spells. Prison Breaker is all things considered a little too slow for Wild, but it's incredibly powerful in Standard. So imagine not having to deal with the slowness of that card. I do think Felder and Lost is a definitive we'll see play in both forms of Reno Hunter. Blast Mage Minor. 6 mana 4/4 Battlecry Excavated Treasure. For each card in your hand, deal 1 damage to a random enemy. At best, this is 6 mana 4/4, get a decent card, and then cast, like, Mask of Cthulhu. Mask of Cthulhu already doesn't see any play in Wild. I don't see how this card is that much better because it's also on a condition. I just don't see this card ever being playable in Wild. Elise, Badlands Savior. Battlecry. If your deck has no duplicates, summon a 4/4 copy of 4 random minions in your deck. You see this card, and you think, wow, Reno Priest must love a card like this. And you're just wrong. Reno Priest would never play this card, not only because it's way too slow, but because the payoff doesn't do anything for that deck. This is a card that you want to run in something like Big Priest, but the body is so bad that why would you run this in Big Priest? Also, running Reno Big Priest is just asking to lose. There is just no world where this card sees play in Wild. Dehydrate. 3 mana, Lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion, which is Title Search currently. Title Search seasonal play. However, it is Quick Draw, cost 1. If you don't know what Quick Draw is, check out my video. However, Quick Draw is when this card first enters your hand, whether you draw it, get it from ETC, discover it, any possible way it enters your hand, it will do what it says, which means it'll cost 1. 1 mana, Lifesteal, deal 4 damage to a minion, is a very good effect. I think there is a world where this sees play in something like a Shutterwalk Shaman, or just a Control Shaman in general. So I think this is a definitive might see play. Living Prairie. Battlecry. If you played an elemental last turn, summon 2 3/3 cows with Rush. I can only assume the cows are beasts, which, yes, they are, as you can see. Oops. Yeah, they are beasts, which on its own doesn't really mean much. But this is 5 mana 5/4, get 2 3/3s. That means it is 5 mana 11/4 in stats. That's a lot of stats. The issue is Elemental Shaman sees zero play whatsoever in Wild. There is nothing that makes that deck playable. So I sadly, even though I like this card, I actually like how this card is. I do think it's going to be a will not see any play in Wild. Trolley Problem. Discard your lowest cost spell. Summon 2 3/3 tram cars with Rush. Quick draw, don't discard. This card is insane. Hear me out. On one hand, it is a discard synergy card that also specifically targets the lowest cost spell. You can make this work in a bunch of different ways. I'm not too sure the reality of this card in a discard Warlock, but I do think this card is good enough in something like a Reno Warlock, right? Because if you can get the quick draw off, it's just 3 mana summon 2 3/3s with Rush. That's really strong. But on the flip side, if you discard a spell in Reno Warlock, you're not really that hurt, right? You'll discard a Mortal Coil or a Chaotic Consumption or a Dark Pact, right? These 1 mana spells that aren't that strong. So I think this card actually will see play in some form of Reno Warlock. Reno Warlock might not be a good deck, but this card definitely slots into it. Kobold Miner. Battlecry, excavate a treasure. If my understanding of treasures is that they're on an elevated power level of lackeys, then this is the same as Cable Rat, which was a okay card when lackeys were around. It wasn't the best lackey generator by any means, but I don't think this card will see play. I think that 2 mana 1/1 is just too slow of an effect, and from what we're seeing with Excavate cards, they'll probably print better versions. This is just the neutral version to give it to classes that don't have Excavate. So I don't think this card will see any play. Sheriff Barrel Brim. Battlecry, if you have 20 or less health, open the Badlands Jail. What the Badlands Jail is a location that makes a minion go dormant for 3 turns with 3 durability. That's not much, right? This is 4 mana 4/4, not kill a minion, and have a condition, right? I don't think this card sees any play. It just seems way too slow for Wild, and I just don't really know what you're ever doing with this. Maybe you could do like a goofy Malagos OTK with this, and you prison the Malagos and something like that in Druid. I don't see this card ever seeing play. It's definitely not getting played. Lastly, Thunderbringer. Here's something, though. You can play this card currently in Wild. And that lets you know that it's not a playable card. Sure, the effect is interesting. Taunt, Death Rattle, summon an elemental and beast from your deck. You might be thinking, wow, oh my god, I can summon King Crush and Ragnaros the Fire Lord for 8 mana. But then you think about that, wait a minute. I have to get to 8 mana. I have to have my minion die. I have to have it not silenced, and I have to have my opponent not steal it with Yogg. As you can see, this card obviously is seeing no play currently, and will not see play. That being said, tell me what you think below. Do you think I'm right or wrong on these cards? I'd love to hear it. And I'll catch you guys next time.